Welcome to Sportsball Roundup. Now here's your hosts, Devin and Reese.
Yes, hello and welcome to Sportsball Roundup. I am Devin. Joining me is my co-host Reese. And Reese, we've got a lot of sports and sporting news to cover in a very short amount of time. So we'll start off with the MLB. The postseason is rapidly approaching, so I'm going to run you through the, playoff picture at this point in time. The AL East, the Orioles have clinched a spot in the playoffs as well as the Rays, but we don't know the division winner quite yet because, the Rays are only 2.5 games back, and the postseason begins October 3rd, so there's still a little bit of room for the Rays to jump the Orioles and take the AL East. The Central Division is all but locked up, with the Twins being the division winner, and all 4 of the bottom teams in the Central Division are eliminated. I want to kind of jump backwards a little bit to the East. The Blue Jays are still alive in the wild card hunt, so they're not quite eliminated yet, but the Yankees and Red Sox are eliminated. Now, going back to this AL Central Division, so the Twins obviously have won the division, won a playoff spot. The Tigers, Guardians, White Sox, and Royals have all been eliminated. Now, the AL West is, the wild, wild west of the American League. The Rangers, Astros, and Mariners, none of them have a designation on playoff spots at this point because the Rangers are on top right now, with the Astros at 2.5 games back and the Mariners at 3. So all of that positioning is subject to change. And right now, the Astros are just in the wild card position, with the Mariners just on the outside looking in at only half a game back. So that is exactly why the AL West has 0 designations for wild card spots. And the other 2 teams in the AL West have been eliminated, the Angels and Athletics. So, Reese, the American League West, that's kind of crazy how there's 0 designations on that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's the AL West is awesome because going on right now is a series between the Astros and Mariners. It's a humongous series. And if you're looking for good baseball, you should check out that series because it has major implications on that division and wild card, with the Mariners on the outside looking in.
And honestly, 20 games through the World Series is my favorite time of year for baseball. As I keep saying, I do love opening week because it is, the start of baseball. And to me and, other, American sports fans, it is the unofficial start to summer. And, so I do love opening week for, that aspect. But 20 games through the World Series is, in my opinion, the best baseball being played. And it is very fun. And, because 20 games on in, you've got, playoff implications, and exhibited, with the series going on between the Astros and Mariners, the Mariners are just a half a game back, like we said, on the outside looking in. And so they want to play good baseball. They're not going to, mail it in because, you got, 80, 90 games left to play. It's crunch time. Every game matters, and that's what I love about this time of year. With that being said, now we're going to move on to the National League. The Braves have clinched the NL East, and the Phillies have locked up a wild card spot, the first ones to lock up a wild card spot. The Marlins still there, still in the hunt. They're half a game back of the Cubs, just on the outside looking in. The Mets and Nationals have been eliminated. In the NL Central Division, the Brewers win the NL Central for the third time in 6 seasons, locking up the top spot there. The Cubs and the Reds are still in the wild card hunt. The Cubs are the third team, and the Reds are a game and a half back on the outside looking in. The Pirates and the Cardinals have been eliminated. And in the NL West, the Dodgers have locked up their Western Division title, with the Diamondbacks and Padres still in the hunt. The D-backs are 1 game ahead, in that second wild card spot. They're 1 game ahead of the Cubs. And the Padres are 4.5 games back on the outside looking in. The Giants and Rockies have been eliminated. And Reese, I know you're a Cubs fan, and we were talking a little bit before the show about the Cubs. You kind of want to fill the listeners in on what you told me?
Yeah, the Cubs, ever since the All-Star break, went on a run to get back in the division at the time, and in doing that, got back in the wild card chase. But ever since maybe the start of September, they've kind of went on a downslope when they faced Arizona twice in a week or so, and the Diamondbacks just took them to school. Like, Diamondbacks won like 5 out of 7 in their 2 series, and that's how the Diamondbacks are in the second place. And the Cubs just, I don't know, they haven't been able to get back on their winning pace that they were on. It's like the D-backs stopped their momentum that they were on, and they haven't been able to get it back. So it's going to be interesting if they can find that in the final few games. If they can't, I see the Marlins sneaking in, or maybe even the Reds, because the Cubs are on a down slope at the moment.
So I hope, for honestly, for your sake, the Cubs at least lock up that wild card spot.
Yeah, and it's going to be difficult because they have 2 more games left in Atlanta, and then they're at Milwaukee to end the season. I know that Milwaukee already clinched the division, so as a Cubs fan, I'm hoping that they give us some slack. But it's a division game, and division games always are difficult, no matter if it's not for the division or not.
Right. And so we will have to see what happens. Like I said, the postseason begins on October 3rd, and it's going to be really fun, whatever happens. But moving on to college football, Reese.
Oh, yes.
Week 4, Wisconsin beats Purdue 38-17. Iowa State gets back to winning, beating Oklahoma State 34-27. Oklahoma beats Cincinnati 20-6. Florida State escapes Clemson in overtime 31-24. I was on the road and listening to that game, and my goodness, Reese. I mean, I listened to it on the road, and then I went back and watched, the end of the game, and my God, dude, like, Clemson honestly deserves to lose that game.
Yeah, and it's the second. Sorry, cut you off.
Because of the coaching.
Yeah.
I mean, clock management was non-existent in crunch time in that game. 2 minute. They don't understand a 2 minute drill, I guess, in Clemson, and how it works on on the coaching side and clock management side, because that should have never gone to overtime.
No.
And so honestly, Florida State got the win, but I think it's honestly more shows you that Clemson's got stuff to work on.
Yeah, and it's the second straight week that Florida State has escaped with a win. I think last week they won 31-29, and now they play an overtime game as a top team in the country. Ooh, I don't know. They might eventually get upset.
Honestly, I think they're the most fraudulent top 10 team.
Yeah.
Because they, like you just said, this is second week in a row they have just squeaked by with a win. So I think they're the most fraudulent top 10 team. I don't think they deserve it. But moving on, Alabama beats Ole Miss 24-10 in a very underwhelming game. It was very low scoring for most of the game, and Alabama was behind for a while, which is something you can't really say in years past. So I don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
with that
usually
team, but it's kind of interesting to see now.
Yeah, usually Alabama, Ole Miss usually delivers at least a high scoring game, maybe at least in the 30s for each team, but this year it's a low scoring affair.
Nebraska beats Louisiana Tech 28-14. Utah holds off UCLA 14-7. Washington State beats Oregon State 38-35. The Ohio State game, Reese. Notre Dame played a great game. 100% what you're supposed to do against Ohio State. And somehow Ohio State scores on the final freaking play. Insanity.
Yeah.
And Indiana beats Akron in the fourth overtime. Am I reading that correctly?
That's correct.
Wow. Completing a 2-point conversion to do so. What a wild game. And then USC beats Arizona State 42-28 like I thought they would.
Yeah, no surprise there.
Now we got to get into it. Oregon defeats Colorado 42-6. Honestly, the second worst thing to happen to the state of Colorado this past weekend, and we'll get into the actual disaster later on in the show. But the first test for Coach Prime, and he got punched in the mouth.
He did.
Bo Nix, 28 for 33, 276 yards, 3 touchdowns. He did have an interception, but 42-6, Reese. Colorado only scored 6 in garbage time. That's bad.
Yes, that is really bad.
For a team that was hyped up that much, that's bad. And it will be interesting to see how Coach Prime and his team respond this next week, because that was the first test and he failed. So we'll have to see, how the team rallies and responds to adversity, and that, because honestly, Reese, how you respond to a loss like that says more about your team as a whole than honestly any win you'll ever get.
Yeah, and I believe next week they go home, I believe, and they host USC.
Another big test.
Yes. Back-to-back great programs. One away, one at home.
Yeah.
How do you fight back?
Right. Exactly. And now to our hometown nightmare. Penn State shuts out Iowa 31-0. The first shutout since October 14th, 2000 versus Illinois. Both games were 31-0. Both games had 4 turnovers. This Penn State game, 76 total yards. This Penn State game, the defense was on the field for 3/4 of the game. We are actually doing worse this year to date, in offensive production than we did last year to date. Brian Ferentz, if you don't turn it around, like drastically turn it around, you are gone. Like, there is no saving your job if you cannot do better than you did last year. That's the entire reason you have that contract caveats. That is the exact reason you took a $50,000 pay cut. Because you cannot perform. Time and time again, you have underperformed. Last season was a nightmare in offensive production. The only reason we won as many games as we did is because the defense is outstanding. This year, same story. Actually, no, it's not. I will take that back. It's worse. Get it together. Your turn, Reese.
I'm just in awe of the disappointment. All my life, I've watched the Hawkeyes. In all my life, they've pretty much done the same exact thing, barring a couple of times, maybe with quarterbacks such as Nate Stanley and a couple others.
Beathard, I would argue Beathard and Kittle are in that,
right. Yeah.
Era, in that era of, I guess, more explosive offenses.
Yeah, the Hawkeyes that are in the NFL. The Hawkeyes that made the NFL, we might have done some things with them. But nonetheless, same thing over and over and over. Now, when you're almost dead last in the entire FBS college rankings in offense, along with the other small colleges, say like colleges like Louisiana Monroe, Sam Houston State, that's not okay. I have the offensive stat rankings for this year. Let's just go through these. Start with
Please do. Everybody needs to know.
Starting with the total offense, 129th out of 133 teams. Time of possession.
Sorry to cut you off. Who are the only 4 teams that have done worse than us?
Sam Houston State, Eastern Michigan, Louisiana Monroe, and someone else I don't even know. You can't. I don't even know what to say.
You can't make this up, dude.
No.
This is honestly the only reason we've won as many games as we won is defense.
Right.
Same song and dance every single year. The only reason we win anything any year is usually defense.
Yes.
And the fact that our punter is a stud and can pin them at the like half-yard line every time somehow.
Yeah. You know it's bad when the punter is your MVP.
Yeah. And us Iowa fans, we clung to the hope that Cade McNamara was going to be something great. Was going to be what Spencer Petras last year could not be. But it goes to show us I don't think it's actually quarterback talent. I think it's the way the offensive line is coached because they didn't do anything. Caden, I felt sorry for him, dude. He was on the ground probably every other snap. Whether he got the ball out or not, he was on the ground.
And it makes me think, what could Petras peak be? Like what could Petras do if we actually had some like a decent coordinator and offensive line? Yes, he missed a lot of throws, but if we had a decent system, it's showing now that is horrible because we have a decent quarterback, and I'm sorry for McNamara that he's taken all like half of the hit here, but he shouldn't because it's just a horrible system. I mean, he's a great quarterback, and he showed that at Michigan.
You're right.
And they have a decent system.
Exactly. And I think that, looking at how Iowa has played these last couple of years, if I was a 4 or 5 star quarterback recruit, if I was a 4 or 5 star wide receiver recruit, I am not going to Iowa.
Right.
I have zero chance to make the NFL if I go to Iowa. Zero chance. So I'm going elsewhere. That is very sad to say as an Iowa fan, but it's true.
Right. I just want to finish up these rankings so we all know what we're working with.
All right. Yeah, go ahead.
Time of possession, 119th. Scoring offense, 105th. Rushing offense, 104th, because we run the ball a lot. Passing offense, 125th. Third down conversion percentage, 122nd. And first downs, 127th. First downs. Almost last.
Dude, numbers don't lie, man. You can say what you want in your little press conferences, Kirk, but numbers don't lie, dude.
No.
And I am so tired of people at Iowa being defended all the time. I get it if you have a bad season, but you keep doing it. And then somehow they fool us into thinking that it was Petras. That if we just had somebody other than Petras at quarterback, we would have been okay last season. Dude, that's wrong. We found that out this year.
Yep.
And I feel bad for jumping on, maybe it's Petrus's bandwagon, and so should all of Iowa. All of Hawkeye Nation. If you blamed Petrus, I think that now hindsight's obviously 2020. Now we need to reflect on it wasn't Petrus.
Right. Yeah.
And you brought up an interesting point. What happens if Petrus was in a different system? What would happen? Would he have still been the Petrus that we know? Or would he have been something different? We'll never know. But now that question is brought up because McNamara has a decent track record at Michigan. He comes to Iowa and doesn't do anything. I don't think that's necessarily his fault.
Yeah.
So it is very disappointing to be an Iowa fan right now. And all we can do, I guess, is look ahead and see what happens. Week 5 top games. We've got Friday. We got Utah at Oregon State. Utah's 10th, Oregon State's 19th. That'll be a good game. Saturday, you got Iowa State at Oklahoma. Michigan State comes to Kinnick and faces Iowa. USC goes to Colorado, like we said before. It'll be Coach Prime's second test. We'll see how he responds and bounces back. Him and his team responds and bounces back after the bad loss at Oregon. Kansas is at Texas, LSU at Ole Miss, Alabama at Mississippi, Notre Dame at Duke. And now, Reese, I'm going to go over the top 25. Georgia stays at first, Michigan stays at second, Texas stays at third. Ohio State moves up 2 to take number 4. So there's your playoff right there. If the season ended this week. Florida State moves down 1 to take 5. Penn State moves up 1, takes 6. Washington up 1 to take 7. USC goes down 3, Reese, to take number 8. Oregon up 1 to take 9. Utah rounds out the top 10, moving up a spot to do so. Notre Dame, with the loss, falls 2 spots to take 11. Alabama moves up 1 again to take number 12. LSU moves down 1 at 13. Oklahoma moves up 2 to take number 14. North Carolina moves up 2 to take 15. Washington State moves up 5 spots. Rockets up 5 to take number 16. Duke goes up 1 to take 17. Miami moves up 2 to take 18. That is Miami of Florida. Oregon State moves down 5, falls 5 to take 19. And Ole Miss also falls 5 to take number 20. Tennessee moves up 2 to take 21. Florida moves up 3 to take 22. 23 belongs to Missouri, who was previously unranked. 24th belongs to Kansas, who was also previously unranked. And Fresno State takes number 25 and rounds out the top 25, who was previously unranked. Receiving votes, Kansas State, Kentucky, Louisville, UCLA, Maryland, TCU, Tulane, Syracuse, Air Force, and Wisconsin. And dropped from rankings, you got Colorado with that bad loss, Iowa with the bad loss, and UCLA. Like I said before, with that top 25, I think the only spot that is in question is the Florida State spot, because like I said before, they have not only escaped one game with the Clemson game, but they escaped twice, with week 3. So we'll see how it all plays out. Anything you'd like to add on the top 25?
Yeah. I don't know how USC dropped 3 spots after winning comfortably to Arizona State. Um, and then I just think Ohio State is a little overrated. um,
Where would you
Nothing
put
about the
him?
big. Well, since it's like during the season, like the AP top 25, I mean, they're okay staying up there, but during the college football playoff rankings, I don't know, I'd have them around eight or nine, to be honest. I just think they're a little overrated at uh, at quarterback. I don't think they have a great quarterback like they have had in the past few seasons. I think their defense and running back has gotten them places and where they're at.
Well, we will have to see what happens. But now moving on to, man, I sound like a broken record in saying this, but moving on to another crazy week in the NFL. Starting off with Thursday night football, the 49ers beat the Giants 30-12. Brock Purdy, baby, 25 for 37, 310 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Dude, honestly, I think he is him and Tom Brady. And it may be a crazy hot take for me to say this, but I think him and Tom Brady are the biggest hidden gems of drafts in our lifetime, Reese.
Especially where he was drafted. That's the thing.
Yeah,
Especially where he was drafted. I can't fully remember when Brady was drafted or where he was drafted
he
in the
was
draft,
drafted late round, I think like fourth or fifth round.
fourth or fifth round. Yeah, like yeah, definitely TB12. But Purdy being literally the last pick in the NFL draft after full 7 rounds. It's just amazing that he's starting and producing the 49ers. And
By the way, Tom Brady was pick 199 in the sixth round of the 2000 NFL draft.
wow.
So yeah, that it this is, if this storyline holds and Brock Purdy becomes this great quarterback like he has shown, I don't think he's lost since becoming a starter, dude. Except for the one playoff game.
Yeah, I think he's undefeated in the regular season, to be
Yep.
honest.
Yep. Only losing one playoff game. And honestly, dude, you can say he lost a playoff game, because technically he did start, but like he got hurt that game.
Right. Yeah.
So, well, dude, the sky's the limit on him, dude. I absolutely love this storyline and his potential. Um, Moving on to Sunday, the Chargers hold on to become 1-2, making the Vikings 0-3, 28-24. Herbert went 40 for 47, 405 yards and 3 touchdowns. And Reese, I watched the end of that game, and honestly, dude, Vikings looked a little like Clemson with the mismanaged clock there, dude. What did you think about the game?
Yeah, they definitely did not time it out right. They did not I, I can't I can't remember did how many timeouts did they have left? Wasn't it like 2? I'm not sure.
Yes, I believe they did.
Yeah, having 2 timeouts and it's not a good look.
No, and you know what? You know what the funny thing is?
Hmm.
They said that the way the last 20 seconds worked, and with them wasting time instead of getting up and getting set was they credit that due to crowd noise. You know what's really
Oh
funny
man.
about that, Reese?
What?
They were at home.
Oh man.
They essentially blame their own fans for the loss. Not a good look, Minnesota. Not a good look, Vikings. Blaming your own fans for losing. Not a good look. By the way, Kirk Cousins ended the day 32 for 50, 367 yards, 3 touchdowns, and the crucial interception to end the game.
Yikes.
Not a good look, Vikings fans. You might want to have a word with your owners there on getting blamed for the loss. That's crazy. I've never seen that before. Also, thrilling game. Packers come back to beat the Saints 18-17. Awesome game. I honestly, I didn't see much of the noon slate because I was out golfing, but I went to a sports bar after with my buddy, and we saw the ends of the noon slate. I saw the Vikings loss. I saw the Packers coming back to beat the Saints, because when I got in, it was 17-0. I'm like, well, that sucks. We'll be 1-2, but came back and beat them 18-17. It was insane. I was watching it. It was 17-11. I'm like, oh no, we could actually do this. And we did. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was a tale of two halves. It was Saints got up to a 17-3 lead in the first half, led by that at halftime. Packers came out ready to play in the second half. Apparently the Saints did not. They didn't score a point in the whole second half. But in the middle of it all was Jordan Love, and he proves yet again that he could be the next guy for Green Bay.
He could be the next one up. And I love how you say that, because after years and years and years of this, I am 29. I got to see, the somewhat prime Brett Favre, when I was younger, and the whole storyline there. And then I got to see Rodgers get drafted and sit behind Favre. Then I got to see the Rodgers era, and I got to see Love drafted behind Rodgers, and now I get to see the Love era. I think that is the formula. You draft quarterbacks when you don't necessarily need them. You draft good talent when you don't necessarily need them. You have them sit behind your veteran, and when your veteran decides it's time to move on, you have that next man with the experience, instead of drafting a quarterback when you absolutely need them and then just throwing them to the wolves and letting them try to figure it out and then moving on and doing it again and again and again. So I think the Packers have something good going there. But, because I'm a Packers fan. But we do got to move on. Bills beat the Commanders 37-3. Lions beat the Falcons 20-6. Laporta has his first NFL touchdown. So there's another Hawkeye starting to cut his teeth in the NFL and do great things. Browns defeat the Titans 27-3. Texans upset the Jaguars 37-17. CJ Stroud 20 for 30, 280 yards and 2 touchdowns. Patriots beat the Jets 15-10. Another loss for Zach Wilson. Colts beat the Ravens in overtime 22-19. I honestly thought Baltimore had it, but just let it slip away. What did you think about that game, Reese?
Yeah, just like you, I think the Ravens let it slip away. The Ravens could have won it at the end of regulation. I think Justin Tucker had a long field goal, but a makeable field goal for his range. I think it was about, I don't know, maybe 55, maybe 58 from just in front of the logo at midfield, and he sent it wide, and that's why they went to overtime, and the Colts got him in overtime.
The Seahawks beat the Panthers 37-27. Andy Dalton went 34 for 58, 361 yards and 2 touchdowns. Cardinals upset the Cowboys 28-16.
Oh man.
As a Cowboys fan, you were them boys until the Cardinals came into town. And
That's right.
gave you a reality check. So, we'll see how the rest of the season pans out. But I honestly think, it was in my mind, I don't know how this happens unless it was a look ahead situation. They just counted the Cowboys just counted this in the win column.
Yeah,
and we're looking ahead.
Had to be.
Because on paper, the Cowboys should have won 9 times out of 10.
It should be a 10 out of 10, not 9 out of 10. The Cowboys definitely should be 3-0 to start the season because they have the easiest start to the year this year. It seems like I'm just guessing, but from their first 3 games, they're all pretty easy. I mean, the Giants are decent, but it still should be a win for the Cowboys. I mean, the Jets without Aaron Rodgers and having to go back to their old quarterback, Zach Wilson, that's a win, a must win. The Cardinals without Kyler Murray and just like nobody there, it's like that's a must win too. And to lose one of those is pretty mind-boggling to me.
Right. And, I honestly don't think the Giants are as bad as people make them out to be because, yeah, they did lose 40-0. Yeah, it took them 6 quarters to score in the NFL season. But you kind of got to put the Dallas game into, with a little bit of an asterisk there because, dude, it was pouring rain.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and the Giants are decent. Yeah.
Right.
No,
it was
no
pouring,
disrespect.
Right. It was pouring rain. Couldn't throw the ball with a darn, because of the rain, and just had to rely on the ground game. And so, I don't necessarily think that the score the Cowboys probably still would have won, but I don't think it would have been 40-0.
Yeah, no. No, definitely not.
So, I don't know. We'll have to see how the rest of the season pans out for the Cowboys. The Steelers defeat the Raiders 23-18 on Sunday Night Football. Pickett went 16 for 28, 235 yards and 2 touchdowns. Going over to Monday Night Football, Eagles beat the Buccaneers 25-11 to end Baker Mayfield's undefeated season. Jalen Hurts went 23 for 37, 277 yards, 1 touchdown, but 2 interceptions, but they still won. So I guess, we'll have to see if that gets ironed out a little bit with Hurts' interceptions. Bengals finally get a win in that column, beating the Rams 19-16. Burrow finally showed out, 26 of 49, 250 yards. He did not have a touchdown. He did have an interception, but it is looking a lot better than weeks 1 and 2. So you notice, Reese, that I kind of skipped a couple games.
Yep. And I know why.
Which one would you like to start with?
Let's get the Chiefs game out of the way.
Well, the Chiefs with Taylor Swift in the VIP box destroy the Bears 41-10. It was, what was it, 34-0 at half?
Yeah. I think you're correct.
Travis Kelce's 7 receptions, 69 yards, and a touchdown there with his girlfriend T Swizzle in the stands.
Hey, question.
What?
Have you ever had a friend that you're watching a game? It doesn't necessarily have to be football, but you're watching a game with your friend or somebody else that just doesn't know the rules of the game you're watching.
Yeah, a few times.
That seemed like like that game for everybody in the press box.
Yeah, I think the only one that was featured in that clip that understands what's going on is Mama Kelsey.
Yeah. She's just happy to be next to Taylor Swift.
Right.
Yeah.
But now Chiefs and Travis Kelce has started a war. Want to know what the war is, Reese?
Probably with Swift's fans.
I'm guessing. 100%. Because now it's going to be diehard Chiefs fans versus Swifties for playoff tickets.
I love it. I can't wait to watch it.
It's going to be nuts. You notice how we're not even talking about the Bears at this point?
Oh yeah. Nobody wants to talk about the Bears. That's just the truth. Anyways,
right? Because the Bears are bad.
That's an understatement. But go ahead.
No, I don't exactly know how best to put this because I don't exactly know what the issue is. Justin Fields is not the entire problem. He is a big part of the problem, but I don't exactly know where to go. What do you do? Do you fire coaching? Do you do you try to draft a different quarterback? Do you try to obliterate, the offensive line and get a better line for him? Do you send him away to go train with Tom Brady, in the offseason? What do you do as a Bears organization to get better? I don't know the answer because it's not just one thing. It's not just, if we replace Fields, everything goes away. All our problems go away. It's not just, if we replace the coaching staff, this will all go away. It's not. And so I don't even know what to say to Bears fans anymore. Because every week it's a different issue that has been there this entire time. Fields cannot read a defense. Coaching staff does not, use Fields the way he should be used. Offensive line ushers defenders into Fields like they're ushering them to a movie theater seat. There is nothing good about that team. So I try to just tell Bears fans that I honestly feel sorry for them, not in a jerk kind of way at this point. I just when the Packers beat them, I kind of did that whole thing, but at this point, dude, I just feel bad for them, and that's genuine because I want our entire NFC North to be competitive.
Yeah.
And have everybody, have an opportunity for, maybe not success necessarily because, they are all in division, they are all rivals, but at least make it a better game. Elevate the entire division as a whole.
Yeah, I think you just have to rely on your actual running backs a lot more. He can't really throw the ball, which causes them to run with him a lot more, and that's predictable for the defense. I mean, you're predicting every week that he's going to run half the plays and throw half the plays, and then they're just going to run with the running back, say about 15 to 20 times, and then Fields is going to throw over 30 passes and run maybe 15 times, and that's all predictable. But I don't know, maybe it's just the scheme that the coordinator brings up isn't working. But this all happened when he went to Ohio State, and I mean, it worked fine then, but that's college. But this is pro, so it's a way different level than college. It's all pros, and they know how to do their job separately, and I don't know what the answer is.
I don't know, but I think that major changes need to happen. Moving on to the other game that we never got to. Dolphins eviscerate the Broncos 17-20. Every other play, honestly, dude, I was trying to watch the Packers game and the comeback. But the bar that we were at had little 20-inch TVs, maybe 15, 20-inch TVs on each table showing a different game. Yep. The game that was at our table was the Miami game.
Oh, wow.
So I was trying to watch, the Packers game that was directly in front of me. But out of the corner of my eye, I kept seeing the score banner from the Dolphins game. So I look over, oh my God, the Dolphins scored again. They scored the most points in an NFL game since 1966. Anybody who had the Dolphins minus the points on the regular spread, I think it was somewhere in the spread in the realm of 14 points. I don't think it was over 20. Big fat winner. Anybody who took the alternate spreads to get, better odds, unless it was 50 and a half or above, won. And I don't think they even offered 50 and a half.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So, because who would have thought a 50-point differential?
Right. In a 89 and a half over under, I don't think so.
Right. the craziest thing is that so they could have broken the scoring um, record, which was I think what was it 72
I believe so.
for a single game in the NFL. They could have broken it. They chose not to, because they didn't want to embarrass the Broncos any more than they already have. And which is commendable. And here's how bad Denver's team really is. Okay. After I think the third I think about midway through the third quarter, they started putting in backups.
Wow.
And there is no reason that a primary running back would only have 82 yards, but 3 touchdowns rushing and a receiving touchdown. There's no reason why the backup running back would rush for more yards than the primary and also have 2 touchdowns. There's no reason for any of that. I mean, Tyreek Hill, they held him to 1 touchdown, but that doesn't even matter, dude.
No, it don't.
When your backup running back gets 2 touchdowns, when Mike White throws a score, Mike White is Tua's backup. There is no reason for the backups to be in the game in the third quarter. Barring, injury. No one was injured. They put them in to maybe slow down the scoring. They have the win secured. Let's just manage clock. Denver is so bad because what they did was they ran the ball, tried to manage clock. Denver's so bad that, managing the clock even ended in scores.
That's insane.
Now people look at the storyline or, the score and it's like, well, why didn't they put, why didn't they just stop and do other things? It's like, they tried. Traditionally, when you're up by a lot, you put in your backups, you get them time and, garbage time, and you try to just manage clock. They did that and still ended up scoring. The only thing that would stop them, honestly, from scoring is if they just randomly picked out fans from the stands and put them in gear.
They might have.
That it's just the craziest, most one-sided game that I've ever seen in my entire life. Obviously, because this hadn't happened since 1966. 50-point differential. I thought that the Cowboys beating the Giants 40-0 was the worst differential I would ever see.
Yeah.
I only had to wait 2 more weeks for me to be wrong. Insane. And so, with that being said, we move on to the joys of Week 4. Thursday night, we got the Lions at Packers. Great game to watch. Great game to be on to start the week because, honestly, dude, I think this has division implications. Whoever wins this has a very good chance of winning the NFC North. Because I think Minnesota's not as bad as 0-3. They'll probably end the season somewhere around 500. The Bears, obviously, we just mentioned, are just terrible. They're racing for a draft pick now.
Yeah.
It's Week 4, and you're already thinking draft for the Bears. But Lions at Packers, gonna be a great game. Division implications. 8:30 in the morning, you get a Sunday morning game in London. Falcons at Jaguars. I mean, technically the Jaguars are the home team? Question mark?
Yeah. Yep.
But that'll be a fun, morning coffee game. Us Midwesterners, especially in central and eastern Iowa, will probably end up watching the 8:30 game and then going back to bed for the noon slate, because our noon slate for this weekend has, I looked this up on a map, unofficial NFL, TV schedule map, but it has been, really accurate these last 3 weeks. So this is most likely what's going to happen. We get our choice of Denver at Chicago or Minnesota at Carolina. All four of them are winless.
Wow.
The NFL could not help but screw us out of good games. Because here's the other games that we could be watching, but we're in the Midwest, so we won't be. You got the Steelers at Texans. Not a great game. Rams at Colts, a better game. Buccaneers at Saints, another better game. Commanders at Eagles, better game. Dolphins at Bills, one I would love to watch, but can't. Bengals at Titans, also probably better game. Ravens at Browns, better game. Every other game on the schedule is better than the ones we get to watch. And I saw something on TikTok that I would like to bring up to you, Reese. Denver and Chicago are probably the two worst teams, arguably, in the NFL at this point. And because I think the Vikings and Panthers, I think they're just underperforming, and they'll probably be, in the realm of 500. But the Broncos at Bears is a game for one reason. Draft pick.
Yes.
Because the Broncos have a real shot of being, if they win, they have a real shot of being 1-16. The Bears, if they win, also have a real good shot of being 1-16, with the only win being this week.
Right.
And the other team is in danger of being historically bad at 0-17. Now, we've had winless teams before, but the reason why this is historic is because the NFL has only recently had 17 weeks, 17 games that these teams play. Therefore, a winless 0-17 team is more historic than an 0-16 team by one game. And since the NFL has switched, no team has ever been winless 0-17. And I honestly think the Broncos or the Bears could do it. And so I back to the TikTok thing. I saw something on TikTok that the loser of the Broncos and Bears game should be relegated. We should bring a relegation system into the NFL. And I honestly, when the product is that bad, I am in favor of it. Because the product is that bad, dude. There's no argument that it's bad. So what is your kind of take on what I've said so far with, our noon slate and relegation, all that stuff? What are your thoughts on it?
I mean, the only way the Broncos and Bears game be entertaining is if they both try and win, which I mean they will, but actually try and score points, because they both got blew out in their game last week. The Bears lost to the Chiefs by 31, and obviously the Broncos got embarrassed. But on your relegation, I think it'd be good. I think it'd be a good partnership with the XFL. The XFL is another football league for non-drafted players, and for non-drafted players to get a shot. That would be really interesting to me. Um, yeah, maybe the top team in the XFL takes the worst team in the NFL's place, like any other relegation system in any other sport. Um, yeah, that'd be interesting for sure.
And so, I do think that would be interesting, and I think it could be, I guess, a incentive not to tank, but
And I just thought of this. Would that be a way for Kaepernick to get back in?
that's an interesting thought. I think that it could be.
If he was part of an XFL team that got raised into the NFL.
Oh yeah, it could be. And I had another I guess question posed to me yesterday when I told my coworkers about, the idea of relegation. They're like, "Well, which league, cuz we have two right now, and if one wins out and the other dies, obviously it'll be the that league. But with our two leagues, which one would be more suited to be the, I guess, partnership league?" And my coworker brought up a good point that it should be the USFL because their rules are literally NFL rules. And I kind of agree because, of the rules standpoint, but dude, but like, a little bit of a tangent here. I think the XFL is a more interesting game in general, and the NFL should maybe look into adopting some XFL rules. But with that being said, um, honestly, dude, I honestly think that as it stands right now, the USFL is more, I guess, capable of being the partnership league because of the rule set. What are your thoughts on that, Reese?
Yeah, I think it would be great for football in the U.S. You wouldn't get the Broncos versus the Bears like you are next week. And just to have some new faces in the league would be refreshing. They might not be good, but they'll be refreshing and new and new places possibly. I think it would be good.
Yeah, and I think it would bring the league up, both leagues up. Because it'll bring the NFL up with the, we've got to do the best thing possible, because of fear of relegation, and it would bring the USFL up because, if you win, you could be promoted and be an NFL team.
Yeah, and this is how St. Louis gets their football team back.
Right. Wouldn't that be cool? So, going back to week 4 NFL schedule, I think that obviously for us, Eastern and Central Iowans, the 12 o'clock, both games are snoozer games. So the entire noon slate, I'm probably going to go mow my lawn and watch highlights if there are any. Must see at the noon slate, I think must see is Dolphins Bills.
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
If you can. The 3 o'clock games, you got the 3:25 games, you got the Raiders at Chargers, Patriots at Cowboys, most of the country, or Cardinals at 49ers. Most of the country will see the Patriots at Cowboys. Some of the country will see, the West Coast will see Cardinals at 49ers. And, all the country will see Raiders at Chargers, because I think that's the only one on CBS. Is that correct?
I believe so.
So, yeah, you'll get Raiders at Chargers at the 325 for CBS, and then Fox will have Patriots at Cowboys for most of the country, and Cardinals at 49ers for the West Coast. Sunday Night Football has Chiefs at Jets, and Monday Night Football has only one game this week, Seahawks at Giants. And so, it will be very interesting to see what happens this next week. But for Reese, I am Devin. You've been listening to Sportsball Roundup Radio. Have yourselves a wonderful day.